Commander Vex stood before the large blue screen that showed a small planet floating in space. The planet looked peaceful with its blue oceans and white clouds. Earth, they called it. His red eyes studied the data that his team had collected over many months. "Tell me again about their weapons," Vex said to his chief officer Korth. Korth pulled up more information on the screen. "Their most powerful bombs use something called nuclear energy. Very basic technology, Commander. We stopped using such simple weapons over 200 years ago." Vex nodded slowly. The humans seemed so weak compared to his mighty Thralian empire. His people had conquered 12 different worlds in the past 50 years. Each victory had been easier than the last. But Earth would be the easiest of all. "What about their spaceships?" Vex asked. "They barely leave their own planet," Korth laughed. "Their rockets use chemical fuel that burns up in a few minutes. They've only sent a few small ships to their moon. Nothing more than that." The other officers in the room also laughed. How could such a backward people even think about fighting the Thralian Empire? Vex's own ship could destroy an entire city with one blast from its energy weapons. He had 500 such ships ready for battle. "Their planet has no energy shields," reported another officer named Drex. "No defense platforms in space. No warning systems that we can detect." "Commander, this will be the easiest conquest in our history." Vex walked around the room looking at each report. Everything pointed to the same thing. Earth was completely defenseless. The humans had no idea that advanced alien races even existed. They were still fighting each other with bullets and bombs while other species traveled between the stars. But something bothered Vex. In all his years as a commander, he had learned to trust his feelings. And right now, something felt wrong. "Korth," he said, "show me the records of other attacks on Earth." Korth looked confused. "Other attacks, Commander?" "Yes. Surely other empires have tried to take this planet before us. It has good water, rich soil, and millions of people who could work as slaves. Why has no one claimed it?" Korth worked on his computer for several minutes, then his face showed surprise. "Commander, I cannot find any records of attacks on Earth. In fact, I cannot find records of any empire even trying to attack it." This made Vex more worried. "That cannot be right. Check the galactic database. Look for any military action against Earth in the past 100 years. The room fell silent as Korth searched through the database. Minutes passed. Finally, Korth looked up with a strange expression on his face. "Commander, you are right to be concerned. I found records of 37 different species sending scout ships to study Earth, but not one of them ever tried to attack it." "Why not?" Vex demanded. "The records do not say." "Commander, but there is something else that is strange." "What?" 3 different empires sent large fleets toward Earth. The Valdorian Confederacy sent a fleet 20 years ago. The Mokari Union sent ships 15 years ago. And the Zentari Republic sent their finest battle group just 5 years ago. Vex felt his heart beat faster. And what happened to these fleets? They all turned back before reaching Earth. The official reports say they found better targets elsewhere. "But Commander, all 3 of these empires were known for never giving up on a conquest." The room became very quiet. Vex stared at the image of Earth on the screen. Such a small, weak planet. But if it was so easy to conquer, why had no one ever tried? "Contact the Valdorian Confederacy," Vex ordered. "I want to speak with whoever led their expedition to Earth." It took 2 hours to establish communication with the Valdorians. When Captain Nexus appeared on the screen, Vex could see that he was an old warrior with many battle scars. "Commander Vex," Nexus said with a nod. "I heard you are planning to visit the Sol system." "We are going to conquer Earth," Vex said proudly. "I wanted to ask why your people did not take it when you had the chance." Nexus was quiet for a long moment. His old eyes seemed to look right through Vex. "Commander, may I give you some advice?" "Speak." "Find another target. There are many worlds that would welcome the Thralian Empire. Earth is not one of them." "But why?" Vex asked, frustrated. "Your reports say the humans are weak and primitive." "The humans are many things," Nexus said carefully. "But Earth itself, Earth is different. There are things about that system that are better left alone." "What kind of things?" Nexus shook his head. "I cannot explain it in words. Commander, some knowledge must be learned through experience. But I will say this, no empire has ever successfully invaded Earth, and there are good reasons why." "Are you trying to scare me with ghost stories, old man?" Nexus smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Commander Vex, I have conquered 43 worlds in my lifetime. I have never run from a fight. But when my fleet reached the edge of the Sol system, I gave the order to turn around, and I have never regretted that decision." The communication ended, leaving Vex more confused than before. He tried contacting the Mokari Union and the Zentari Republic, but both refused to discuss their missions to Earth. The more he investigated, the more mysterious Earth became. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, Dr. Reina Okafor sat in her small office. At the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, she had been studying radio signals from space for 15 years. Most of the time, she heard nothing but cosmic background noise. But today was different. Her computers were detecting strange energy patterns in the upper atmosphere. The readings showed technology far more advanced than anything humans had ever created. Someone was watching Earth from space, and they were using very sophisticated equipment to do it. Raina printed out the data and studied it carefully. The energy signatures were unlike anything in a database. They seemed to be scanning the entire planet, collecting information about everything from the weather to the movement of ships and planes. She picked up her phone and called her supervisor. "Dr. Martinez, I need to report something unusual." "What is it, Raina?" "I think we have visitors. The energy readings I am getting suggest that there are alien ships in our solar system right now." Dr. Martinez sighed. "Raina, we have talked about this before. You need to be very careful about making such claims. Have you checked your equipment for malfunctions?" "I have checked everything 3 times. The readings are real, Dr. Martinez. Something is out there, and it is watching us. Send me your data. I will have the technical team look at it. But please, do not share this with anyone else until we can verify what you are seeing." Raina hung up the phone, feeling frustrated. She knew what she was seeing was real, but she also knew that most people would not believe her without proof. She decided to continue monitoring the signals and gathering more evidence back on the Thralian command ship. Vex made his final decision. Despite the warnings and the mysterious lack of invasion attempts by other empires, he could not ignore such a perfect target. Earth had everything his people needed: resources, water, and a large population that could serve the empire. "Prepare the fleet for departure," he ordered. "We leave for Earth in 6 hours." Korth looked worried. "Commander, are you sure about this? Perhaps we should investigate more before committing our entire fleet." "I am sure," Vex said firmly. "We are warriors of the Thralian Empire. We do not run from primitive humans because of old stories and superstitions. Earth will be ours within the week." As the Thralian fleet prepared for its journey to Earth, neither Vex nor Raina knew that their 2 worlds were about to collide in ways that would change the galaxy forever. The Thralian invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, expecting to see empty space and a defenseless blue planet in the distance. Instead, his jaw dropped, open in shock. Hundreds of alien ships filled the space around them. Ships of every size and shape imaginable floated in the darkness. Some were sleek and silver like knives. Others were massive and blocky like floating cities. Vex had never seen so many different alien designs in one place. "Commander," his officer Korth said with a shaking voice, "we are detecting vessels from at least 40 different species. All of them are maintaining position around Earth's solar system." Vex could not believe what he was seeing. "What are they doing here? This makes no sense." Before anyone could answer, a communication signal came through their speakers. The voice was deep and tired, like someone who had seen too many battles. "Thralian fleet, this is Captain Nexus of the Valdorian Confederacy. You will halt your advance immediately and prepare to withdraw from this system." Vex recognized the voice from their earlier conversation. "Captain Nexus, what is the meaning of this? Why are so many ships gathered here?" "You were warned, Commander Vex, but you chose not to listen. Now you see what others have seen before you." On the main screen, Nexus appeared. His weathered face, it looked grim but not surprised. Behind him, Vex could see the bridge of a Valdorian warship, one of the most feared vessels in the galaxy. "I demand an explanation," Vex said angrily. "Why are you protecting these primitive humans? What claim do they have on you?" Nexus shook his head slowly. "We are not protecting the humans, Commander. We are protecting ourselves. And now we are protecting you, though you do not deserve it." "That makes no sense at all. Earth is under observation protocols," Nexus explained. "Any hostile action toward that planet will be met with immediate response from every ship in this fleet. Turn around now, and you may yet save your people." Vex looked around the bridge at his confused officers. This was not what they had planned for. Observation protocols. What authority gives you the right to establish such protocols? "Not our authority, Commander. We are just here to make sure nobody makes the same mistake twice." Meanwhile, on Earth, the governments of the world were reacting in ways that surprised many people. Instead of panic and chaos, they seemed oddly prepared for this moment. In Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and other capitals, leaders were activating secret plans that had been prepared years in advance. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Webb of the newly formed Space Command Division sat in a bunker deep under Colorado. His job was to coordinate Earth's response to exactly this kind of situation. The strange thing was that Space Command had been created 5 years ago, long before humans had any proof that aliens existed. "Sir," his aide reported, "we are tracking over 300 alien vessels in our solar system. None of them are showing hostile intentions toward Earth." Marcus nodded calmly. "Are they following the standard observation pattern?" "Yes, sir. They are maintaining the usual perimeter distance." The aide looked confused by how normal this all seemed to his commander. "Sir, may I ask how we knew this would happen?" Marcus looked at the young officer with tired eyes. "Son, there are things about Earth's situation that most people do not know. Today, some of those things are becoming visible." Back in space, Commander Vex was growing more frustrated by the minute. His invasion fleet was outnumbered 10 to 1, But he had not come this far to give up without a fight. "Captain Nexus," he said into the communicator, "I respect your experience as a warrior, but the Threlian Empire does not retreat from anyone. We will take Earth as planned. Commander, please listen to reason. You do not understand what you are dealing with. I understand perfectly. You are trying to claim Earth for yourself by scaring away other empires, but we are not afraid of you." Nexus looked genuinely sad now. "Very well, Commander, but remember that I tried to warn you." Vex turned to his officers. "Prepare one scout ship to advance toward Earth. Let us test there." "Resolve," Sir Korth said nervously. "Perhaps we should reconsider. There are so many ships here." "One scout ship, Korth. If they are bluffing, we will know soon enough." The small Thralian scout ship moved forward, heading toward Earth. It passed through the outer ring of alien vessels without any response. Vex smiled, thinking he had been right about the bluff. "You see," he told his officers, "they are all talk and no action." But as the scout ship approached the invisible boundary around Earth's immediate space, something incredible happened. A beam of pure energy shot out from somewhere near the planet and struck the scout ship. In seconds, all of the ship's systems shut down. The vessel was completely disabled but not destroyed. "Where did that come from?" Vex shouted. His sensor officer studied the readings with wide eyes. "Commander, the energy beam did not come from any of the alien ships in the fleet." "Then where?" I do not know, sir. The energy source appears to be from Earth itself, but that is impossible. The humans do not have such technology." On the communication screen, Captain Nexus spoke again. His voice was very quiet now. "I told you, Commander, we are not here to protect the humans. We are here to make sure no one is foolish enough to wake them up." "Wake who up? What are you talking about?" "You will understand soon enough. Your scout ship crossed the line, Commander Vex. Now something very old and very powerful knows that you are here." Dr. Raina Oak was working late in her laboratory when every piece of equipment in the building started going crazy. Computer screens flickered, radio telescopes moved on their own, and energy readings spiked to levels she had never seen before. She ran to her main computer and saw readings that made her heart race. The energy signatures she had detected before were now 100 times stronger. Something massive was moving beneath the Pacific Ocean. "This cannot be real," she whispered to herself. Her phone rang. It was her supervisor, Dr. Martinez, but he sounded completely different from their last conversation. "Raina, I need you to listen very carefully. Do not leave the observatory. Do not call anyone, and whatever you do, do not try to contact the objects you are tracking." "Dr. Martinez, what is happening?" "The readings I am getting suggest something enormous is moving under the ocean." "I know, Raina, we have been monitoring the situation. There are things about our planet that you were not told because the information is classified at the highest levels." "What kind of things?" "Kind of things that are about to become very visible. Just stay where you are and keep recording everything. Your data may be very important in the coming hours." Back in space, more alien ships were arriving every hour. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together, all focused on the same thing, making sure that nothing disturbed Earth. Commander Vex found himself trapped between two impossible choices. He could retreat and face disgrace when he returned home, or he could continue forward and face something that even the greatest military powers in the galaxy seemed to fear. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving messages from 17 different alien species. They are all saying the same thing, which is, turn back now, or face the consequences." Vex stared at the image of Earth on his screen. Such a small, innocent-looking planet, but something about it had scared away every other empire that had ever tried to conquer it. Something had disabled his scout ship with technology that should not exist on a primitive world. Commander Korth said softly, "Perhaps Captain Nexus was right. Perhaps we should leave." Vex was about to respond when every alarm on his ship started ringing at once. His sensor officer turned toward him with a face full of terror. "Commander, something is rising from Earth's oceans. Multiple contacts. They are ... They are massive, sir." On the main screen, the image of Earth changed. Dark shapes were emerging from the blue oceans, rising into the atmosphere. They were clearly artificial structures, but their design was unlike anything in any galactic database. "What are those things?" Vex whispered. Captain Nexus appeared on the communication screen one last time. His expression was no longer patient or understanding. Now he looked genuinely afraid. "Those, Commander Vex, are the real guardians of Earth, and you have just woken them up." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Elena Vasquez held her breath as her small submarine descended into the darkest parts of the sea. She was leading a team of marine scientists to study strange readings that had appeared on ocean floor scanners 3 days ago. "How deep are we now?" asked her assistant, Tom Bradley. 4,000 meters and still going down, Elena replied, watching the depth meter carefully. "The readings are coming from much deeper than this." Outside the submarines, thick windows, the ocean was completely black. Their powerful lights could only show a few meters ahead. But as they went deeper, Elena started to see something that should not exist. "Tom, are you seeing this?" Straight ahead of them, illuminated by their lights, was a massive wall of metal. It stretched as far as their lights could reach in every direction. The metal was dark and covered with strange patterns that looked like writing, but not from any human language. "This is impossible," Tom whispered. "There should not be any structures down here." "We are in the middle of the ocean," Elena guided the submarine along the metal wall, trying to understand what they had found. The structure was clearly artificial, but it was enormous. As they followed it, Elena realized they were looking at just one small part of something much larger. "Tom, start recording everything. This structure has been here for a very long time. Look at how the metal has aged. This is older than any human civilization." Above them, on the surface of the ocean, other teams around the world were making the same discovery. Similar structures were rising from the deepest parts of every ocean on Earth: the Caribbean Sea, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic waters. All of them were revealing massive artificial constructions that had been hidden for thousands of years. Meanwhile, in space, the standoff between Commander Vex and the alien coalition was becoming more tense by the hour. More ships kept arriving from across the galaxy. Species that had never worked together before were now united in their effort to contain the situation. "Commander," reported Korth, "we now count over 800 alien vessels surrounding us. Some of these species have been at war with each other for centuries, but they are all working together now." Vex stared at the readings on his screen. His invasion fleet of 500 ships had seemed powerful when they left home. Now they were completely outnumbered and surrounded. "Sir," his communications officer said, "Captain Nexus is requesting to speak with you again." The screen flickered to life, showing the old Valdorian captain, but now Nexus looked genuinely worried, not just cautious. "Commander Vex, you need to order your ships to retreat immediately. The situation has changed."
"What
do you mean it has changed?" "The structures that are rising from Earth's oceans, they are fully active now. Our sensors are detecting energy levels that exceed anything in our databases. Even our most advanced civilizations cannot match this technology." Vex looked at his own sensor readings. The dark shapes rising from Earth's oceans were now clearly visible even from their position at the edge of the solar system. They were massive ships, each one larger than his entire fleet combined. "What are they?" Vex asked. "We do not know," Nexus admitted. "But we have learned not to interfere with them. Commander, I have fought in wars across half the galaxy. I have seen weapons that can destroy entire star systems. But what is emerging from Earth right now is beyond anything I have ever encountered." On Earth, Professor James Nakamura sat in his office at Tokyo University, surrounded by maps and ancient texts. He had spent his entire career studying the great monuments of human history: Stonehenge, the pyramids, Easter Island, and dozens of other mysterious structures. For years, he had wondered why ancient peoples had built these monuments in such specific locations. Now, as he watched news reports of the massive structures rising from the oceans, everything started to make sense. "The positioning is exact," he said to his research assistant, Yuki Tanaka. "Every single ancient monument on Earth corresponds precisely to the locations where these ocean structures are emerging." Yuki looked at the maps spread across the professor's desk. Red dots marked the locations of ancient monuments, while blue dots showed where the ocean structures were rising. When connected with lines, they formed a perfect geometric pattern across the entire planet. "Professor, what does this mean?" "It means that our ancestors knew about these structures. Somehow, they knew exactly where they were located, even though they were buried deep under the ocean floor." James picked up an old book about Stonehenge and flipped through the pages. "Look at this. The builders of Stonehenge arranged the stones in a pattern that matches the energy signatures we are detecting from the ocean structures. The same is true for the pyramids, for the stoneheads on Easter Island, for temples in Cambodia and Peru." "But how is that possible?" "Those monuments were built thousands of years ago by people who had no advanced technology." "That is exactly what we need to figure out, Yuki. Either our ancestors were much more advanced than we thought, or someone else helped them build these monuments." Back in her submarine, Dr. Elena Vasquez was making even more shocking discoveries. As she explored the massive underwater structure, she found areas where the metal was completely smooth and undamaged, as if it had been built yesterday. "Tom, look at these sections. There is no corrosion, no damage from the water. It is like this part of the structure is somehow protecting itself." As they moved closer to examine the smooth sections, something incredible happened. Lights began to turn on inside the structure. Not electric lights like humans used, but a soft blue glow that seemed to come from the metal itself. "Elena, the structure is activating. We need to get out of here." But Elena was too fascinated to leave. Through the transparent sections that were now glowing, she could see the inside of the structure. It was not empty. There were rooms, corridors, and what looked like control stations. Everything was designed for beings much taller than humans. "Tom, this is not just a structure. It is a ship, a massive ship that has been waiting under our oceans." The lights inside the ship grew brighter, and Alina could see movement, not human movement, but something else entirely. Mechanical forms were moving through the corridors, as if the ship was coming back to life after a very long sleep. "We really need to leave now, Alina." But before they could start their ascent, the submarine's radio crackled to life. A voice spoke to them, but it was not any human language they had ever heard. The voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. Then, impossibly, the voice switched to perfect English. Surface dwellers, you have awakened the Guardians. Your species has reached a critical moment in its development. Prepare for contact. Elena and Tom looked at each other with wide eyes. Whatever was in these ancient ships could speak their language and knew about human civilization. On the surface, similar messages were being broadcast to every government and military installation on Earth. The messages were transmitted simultaneously in every human language: English, Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, Russian, and hundreds of others. The message was simple but terrifying. The Sanctuary World's protection protocols are now active. All threats to the developing species will be eliminated. In space, the alien coalition ships began to detect massive energy buildups from all of the structures emerging from Earth's oceans. Captain Nexus contacted his fleet commanders from dozens of different species. All ships, prepare for immediate withdrawal. The Earth Guardians are powering up their weapons systems. Commander Vex watched in amazement as energy readings from Earth spiked to levels that should have been impossible. Whatever technology these ancient ships possessed, it was far beyond anything that existed in the known galaxy. Commander said with a shaking voice, "If those ships decide to attack, our shields will not protect us. Nothing we have can defend against that kind of power." As if responding to his words, one of the massive ships emerging from the Pacific Ocean began to glow with the same blue light that Elena had seen underwater. The glow grew brighter and brighter until it could be seen from space. Then the ship projected a holographic message that appeared simultaneously above every major city on Earth and near every alien ship in the solar system. The message was visible to everyone, written in the languages that each observer could understand. This world is under the protection of the architects. Any attempt to harm the inhabitants or claim this world will result in immediate retaliation. This is your only warning. The holographic message faded, but its meaning was clear to everyone who saw it. Earth was not just protected by ancient technology, it was protected by beings who called themselves the architects, and their power was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Vex finally understood why no empire had ever successfully invaded Earth. It was not because the planet was unimportant or too difficult to conquer. It was because Earth was already claimed by something far older and more powerful than any civilization in the galaxy. Captain Nexus floated in his command chair, staring at the massive ancient ships that now filled Earth's skies. After hours of debate with fleet commanders from across the galaxy, he had finally decided to share the truth that their civilizations had hidden for thousands of years. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered his communications officer. "It is time they knew what they are really dealing with." The holographic display showed hundreds of alien vessels from dozens of different species. Some were allies, others were enemies, but today they were all united by fear and curiosity. "Fellow commanders," Nexus began, his old voice carrying across space to every ship in the fleet. "What you are witnessing today is something our governments have kept secret for millennia. Earth is not just another world with primitive inhabitants. It is a testing ground created by beings we call the architects." Murmurs of shock and disbelief came through the communication channels. Commander Vex leaned forward in his chair, finally understanding why his invasion attempt had triggered such a massive response. "The architects," Nexus continued, "are beings who existed long before any of our civilizations developed space travel. They transcended physical existence eons ago, but they left behind these guardian ships to protect their experiments. On Earth, Dr. Amara Singh was working frantically in her laboratory at CERN, the European Research Center for Particle Physics. The electromagnetic disruptions from the ancient ships had created something she had never seen before: tiny portals that seemed to open into other dimensions. "This is impossible," she whispered as she studied the readings on her computers. "The energy from those ships is actually tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. Through these microscopic portals, Amara could see glimpses of other worlds. Some looked like Earth but with different continents. Others showed Earth with no humans at all, where giant reptiles still ruled the land. And some showed versions of Earth where the humans looked completely different from the people she knew. These are not just portals to other places," she realized. "They are windows into parallel versions of Earth, different timelines where evolution took different paths." Her assistant, Dr. Robert Chen, looked over her shoulder at the readings. "Amara, if this is true, then it means the architects have been running multiple experiments at the same time. Our Earth is just one of many possible versions." Meanwhile, in the depths of space, Captain Nexus was revealing even more shocking information to the assembled fleet. "Every major civilization in this galaxy has been touched by the architects," he said. "The Valdorians, the Mokari, the Zentari, even the mighty Thralian Empire. We all have architect influence in our ancient history." Commander Vex felt his blood run cold. "What do you mean?" "Look at your own records, Commander. Go back far enough in your people's history, and you will find gaps. Periods where your ancestors made impossible leaps in technology and understanding. Those leaps were guided by architect technology, just like what happened on Earth." Nexus pulled up holographic displays showing archaeological evidence from dozens of worlds. Ancient ruins on different planets all showed similar architectural styles and technological signatures. The pattern was undeniable. The difference, Nexus continued, is that most of our species failed the architect tests. We became too aggressive, too focused on conquest and domination. One by one, the architects abandoned us to develop on our own. But Earth is different, asked Commander Zellera of the Makari Union. Earth is the only world where the experiment, it is still active. The only place where the architects are still watching and guiding development. Back on Earth, Professor James Nakamura was making connections that changed everything he thought he knew about human history. In his office, surrounded by ancient texts and modern scientific reports, he was piecing together a puzzle that spanned thousands of years. Yuki, he called to his research assistant, look at this pattern. Every time humans faced a major crisis that could have destroyed our civilization, we made a breakthrough that saved us. Yuki examined the timeline that Professor Nakamura had created: the development of agriculture when the Ice Age ended, the discovery of medicine when plagues threatened to wipe out entire populations, the invention of communication technology when wars were dividing the world. Exactly, and each time, the breakthrough came from individuals who claimed they were inspired by dreams or visions, people who said the knowledge just appeared in their minds. Professor Nakamura opened an old book about Leonardo da Vinci. Look at his notebooks. He designed flying machines hundreds of years before humans had the technology to build them. He drew diagrams of the human body that were more accurate than anything doctors knew at the time. Where did he get this knowledge? You think the architects were giving him information? I think the architects have been guiding human development for thousands of years, giving us just enough knowledge to survive each crisis, but not so much that we would become too dangerous too quickly. In space, the revelation was spreading through the galactic community like wildfire. Species that had been enemies for centuries were sharing information about their own ancient histories. The pattern was always the same: periods of guided development, followed by abandonment when the species became too aggressive. Commander Vex accessed the Threlian historical archives, searching for evidence of what Nexus had described. What he found made him question everything he thought he knew about his own people. Korth, he said to his second-in-command, look at these records from our early civilization. 5,000 years ago, our people were primitive hunters living in caves. Then, in the span of just 2 centuries, we developed advanced metallurgy, space travel, and energy weapons. Korth studied the historical data. Commander, you are right. The technological advancement was too rapid to be natural. But there is something else here. What records of a great war that happened 3,000 years ago? The Thralian Empire tried to conquer a neighboring star system. But the moment we launched our attack, all of our advanced technology stopped working. Our ships fell from the sky, our weapons became useless, and our civilization collapsed back to a primitive state. How long did it take us to rebuild? 1,000 years. Commander, 1,000 years of struggling in the darkness before we rediscovered technology on our own. The implications were staggering. The architects had not just guided human development, they had punished other species when they became too aggressive. The advanced technology that every galactic civilization possessed was a test. Those who used it for conquest were abandoned. Those who used it wisely continued to receive guidance. On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez was still exploring the massive underwater ship, but now the ship was responding to her presence in ways that seemed almost intelligent. Corridors lit up as she approached them. Doors opened automatically when she needed to pass through, and strange symbols on the walls began to glow, as if the ship was trying to communicate with her. Tom, she said to her assistant, I think this ship is not just a machine, it is some kind of artificial intelligence. As if responding to her words, a holographic figure appeared in front of them. It was tall and elegant, with features that looked almost human but not quite. The figure spoke in the same voice they had heard before. Dr. Elena Vasquez, marine biologist from the surface world. You have been chosen to receive information about your species' true purpose. Elena could barely speak. Chosen by whom? By the architects who designed your species and guided your development. Humanity is approaching a critical moment in its evolution. You must understand what you are becoming. The holographic figure gestured to the walls around them, which began to display images of human history. But these were not the events that Elena knew from history books. These images showed humans making decisions that seemed to come from some deeper wisdom. Every major advancement in human civilization has been a test. How you use technology, how you treat other species, how you respond to challenges. All of this has been carefully observed. Observed for what purpose? To determine if humanity that is ready to join the architects in transcending physical existence. You are the first species in this galaxy to consistently choose cooperation over domination when faced with extinction-level challenges. Elena felt the weight of this revelation. Humanity was not just another intelligent species struggling to survive, they were candidates for something far greater. Back in space, Commander Vex was learning the final truth about Earth's protection. Through intercepted galactic communications, he discovered records of the last major attempt to invade Earth, the Brutarch Empire. once the most feared military power in the galaxy, had launched a massive invasion fleet toward Earth in the year. Humans called 1347 10,000 ships, carrying weapons that could crack planets in half. Not one of those ships had ever returned home. Within days of the fleet's disappearance, the Brutok homeworlds began to experience massive technological failures. Their advanced cities crumbled, their weapons stopped working, and their empire collapsed into chaos. The Brutok civilization. They had never recovered. Their worlds were now empty, lifeless rocks floating in space. This is what happens, Vex realized, to any species that threatens the Architect's experiment. Earth is not just protected, it is the most dangerous place in the galaxy to attack. As this understanding spread through the alien fleet surrounding Earth, a new fear took hold. They were not just witnessing the awakening of ancient guardians. They were seeing the activation of a weapon system that had already destroyed the most powerful empire in galactic history. The Galactic Coalition fleet found itself facing an impossible decision. Commander Vex's invasion attempt had triggered something that none of them had expected: the acceleration of humanity's evolutionary timeline by thousands of years. Captain Nexus stood on his bridge, watching as more ancient ships rose from Earth's oceans. Each vessel was massive beyond comprehension, and their combined energy output was beginning to affect the fabric of space itself around the planet. All fleet commanders, Nexus announced through the communication network, we have received a direct message from the Architect Guardians. They are demanding that we make a choice about humanity's future. The holographic display in his bridge flickered to life, showing the same elegant figure that had appeared to Dr. Elena Vasquez in the underwater ship. But now the being's expression was serious and urgent. Galactic civilizations, the Architect, spoke. The invasion attempt has forced us to activate our emergency protocols. The human species must now choose their path immediately, rather than developing naturally over the next millennium. Commander Vex felt a cold fear in his chest. What kind of choice? Humanity can accept immediate transcendence to join us in our higher state of existence, or they can remain as they are and face termination of the experiment. There is no third option. On Earth, Dr. Michael Torres was observing something remarkable happening in cities across the planet. As a behavioral psychologist who studied how people react during crises, he expected to see panic, chaos, and the breakdown of social order. Instead, he was witnessing the opposite. In New York, London, Tokyo, and every major city, people were coming together in ways he had never seen before. Strangers were helping each other. Governments were cooperating, instead of competing, and there was a sense of unity that seemed to transcend all cultural and national boundaries. This is impossible, he said to his research partner, Dr. Lisa Park. Humans do not behave this way during existential threats. We should be seeing mass hysteria and social collapse. Michael, look at these brain scan results from hospitals around the world. Something is happening to human neural activity. People are showing increased activity in areas of the brain associated with empathy, cooperation, and higher reasoning. Michael studied the data. The pattern was consistent across all age groups and cultures. It was as if the presence of the Architect ships was somehow unlocking latent potential in the human brain. The crisis is not breaking us apart, he realized. It is bringing out the best in us. Meanwhile, Professor Lisa Chen was making her own discoveries about human evolution. As an evolutionary biologist, she had spent years studying how species adapt to environmental changes. But what she was observing now defied everything she knew about natural selection. The genetic changes are happening too fast, she told her team at the research facility. Human DNA is showing modifications that should take thousands of generations to develop naturally. Her colleague, Dr. Ryan Williams, looked at the genetic sequencing results with amazement. Lisa, these are not random mutations. Someone is actively modifying human genetics in real time. The Architects, Lisa whispered, they are preparing us for something. The genetic modifications were subtle but significant. Enhanced neural connections, improved immune systems, and increased resistance to radiation and other environmental hazards. It was as if humanity was being upgraded for survival in conditions that did not exist on Earth. Back in the underwater ship, Dr. Elena Vasquez was receiving the most complete explanation of humanity's situation. The Architect hologram had been speaking to her for hours, revealing secrets that changed her understanding of human existence. Your species was designed with a specific purpose, the being explained. Every other intelligent race we have guided has eventually chosen the path of aggression and conquest. They use their advanced abilities to dominate and destroy rather than to create and protect. But humans are different. Humans consistently choose cooperation when facing extinction. When your cities were threatened by natural disasters, you worked together to save everyone, not just your own people. When diseases spread across your world, you shared medical knowledge freely rather than using it as a weapon. Alina thought about the major crises in human history: world wars, pandemics, natural disasters. In each case, humanity had ultimately chosen to work together rather than let the crisis destroy them. This is why we selected Earth as our final experiment site. If humanity can successfully transcend their biological limitations while maintaining their essential compassion, They will become the guardians of this galaxy. Guardians, every other species we guided eventually failed and had to be abandoned to develop on their own. Some, like the Brutox, became so aggressive that they had to be eliminated entirely. But if humanity succeeds, they will take over our role of guiding and protecting developing civilizations. The weight of this responsibility was staggering. Humanity was not just fighting for their own survival, they were being tested to see if they could become the protectors of countless other worlds. In space, the ancient ships were preparing to offer humanity their final choice. Commander Vex and the other alien leaders watched as massive energy beams connected all of the Architect vessels, creating a network of power that surrounded the entire planet. "What are they doing?" Vex asked. Captain Nexus consulted his sensors. "They are preparing to either elevate humanity to their transcendent state, or to eliminate the experiment entirely and start over with a different species." The holographic Architect appeared simultaneously on every ship in the fleet and in every major city on Earth. This time, the being was speaking directly to humanity. "People of Earth, you have reached the moment of final testing. Your species must now choose your destiny." On Earth, Dr. Raina Okafor found herself selected as humanity's representative in this cosmic decision. She stood in her laboratory at the Arecibo Observatory, facing the holographic Architect who had chosen her to speak for all of humanity. "Dr. Okafor," the being said, "you have been monitoring our presence longer than any other human. You understand the significance of this." "The moment I understand that our world will never be the same," Raina replied. "Your species has three options. First, you can accept immediate transcendence to join us in our highest state of existence. You will gain incredible power and knowledge, but you will no longer be human as you understand the term." Raina nodded, waiting for the other options. "Second, you can choose to remain exactly as you are. We will withdraw our guidance, seal our ships beneath your oceans, and leave humanity to develop naturally. However, this means the experiment has failed, and we will begin again with another species." "And the third option?" The Architect paused, as if considering whether to reveal this possibility. "There is a third path that no species has ever chosen before. You can remain human but accept the responsibility of becoming galactic guardians. You will receive advanced technology and extended lifespans, but you will dedicate your civilization to protecting and guiding other developing worlds." Raina felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She was not just choosing for herself, but for all of humanity and potentially for countless alien civilizations that had yet to be born. "How long do we have to decide?" "The choice must be made now. The acceleration of your evolutionary timeline cannot be reversed." Raina closed her eyes and thought about everything that made humanity special. Their art, their music, their capacity for love and sacrifice, their ability to find hope in the darkest situations and to help others even when it put themselves at risk. When she opened her eyes, her decision was clear. "We choose the third path," she said firmly. "We will remain human, but we accept the responsibility of protecting others. We will become the guardians that this galaxy needs." The Architect smiled, the first time any human had seen such an expression from one of these ancient beings. "You have chosen wisely. Humanity will now become the inheritors of our legacy." As the words were spoken, the ancient ships began to descend back toward Earth's oceans. But they were not hiding again. Instead, they were positioning themselves to become part of human civilization, sharing their technology and knowledge with the species that had proven worthy of the greatest responsibility in the galaxy. Commander Vex watched from his ship as human vessels began to emerge from Earth's sleek, advanced ships that incorporated both human ingenuity and Architect technology. Within hours, these ships were patrolling the outer edges of the solar system, taking over the protective role that the alien coalition had maintained. The Thralian commander finally understood why no one had ever successfully attacked her. It was not because the planet was too well defended to conquer. It was because attacking Earth meant challenging the future guardians of galactic civilization itself. A new era had begun, with humanity stepping into their role as protectors of the innocent and guides for the developing civilizations of the galaxy.